How's it going, everyone? Austin Honecker here. I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite from April 14th, 2021, which was 2 nights ago. I gotta say it was awesome from start to finish. For the matches, match 1, it was the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus Pac and Ray Phoenix for the AEW Tag Team titles. That was a great match, but the ending to it, the Young Bucks went over and retained the AEW Tag Team titles because Nick Jackson pinned Ray Phoenix with the double super kick from Matt and Nick Jackson. Match 2, it was Jade Cargill versus Red Velvet. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Jade Cargill went over with the Jaded. Match 3, it was Anthony Ogogo versus Cole Carter. That was a quick match, but the ending to it, Anthony Ogogo went over due to referee stoppage, because the referee stopped the match after Anthony Ogogo executed a punch to the stomach to Cole Carter. Match 4, it was Chris Jericho versus Dax Harwood with Mike Tyson as the special guest enforcer. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Chris Jericho went over with the Judas Effect. Well, I will say this, Mike Tyson done awesome as the special guest enforcer. He called the match right down the middle, didn't play favorites or anything, and a big brawl between the Inner Circle. The rest of the Inner Circle, which are Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz, against the rest of the Pinnacle, which are MJF, Wardlow, Sean Spears, with Tully Blanchard in tow. Which after that brawl happened, the Inner Circle and Mike Tyson stood tall in the ring while the Pinnacle left. After Mike Tyson knocked Cash Wheeler out during the match, well, the Inner Circle and Mike Tyson were in the ring, and Chris Jericho named Mike Tyson as an auxiliary member of the Inner Circle. So Mike Tyson and the Inner Circle stood tall and celebrated, which that was cool. Match 5, it was Chris Statlander versus Amber Nova. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Chris Statlander went over with the Big Bang Theory. And match 6, which was the main event, it was Darby Allin versus Matt Hardy in a Falls Count Anywhere match for the AEW TNT title. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Darby Allin went over and retained the AEW TNT title because Darby Allin climbed the rafters and done the coffin drop to Matt Hardy on the announcer's table and got the pinfall. But during the match, the rest of the Hardy family office, which are Mark Quinn, Isaiah Cassidy, The Butcher, and The Blade, interfered to help Matt Hardy. But the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, 5'10", the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, Alex Reynolds, 5'10", and Colt Cabana all came out to even the odds, as did Sting. And so Sting was taking it to Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy, beating the shit out of them, and this was during the match, and the Dark Order were beating the shit out of the Butcher and the Blade. Well, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page attempted to interfere, but Lance Archer came out and stopped Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page from interfering. So Sting was getting ready to do a double Scorpion Death Drop on Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy, on Private Party, but Lance Archer came in. Sting dropped Private Party down, and Sting and Lance Archer stared each other down. Well, Lance Archer done the blackout to Isaiah Cassidy, and then Lance Archer got out of the ring and got Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn and took him backstage with him, beating the shit out of him. And Sting ended up giving Darby Allin the baseball bat and went backstage. Which, that was cool during the match. Let me see. But besides all that, the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, cut a promo explaining their actions of turning their back on Jon Moxley during the match between Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, which are Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, versus Jon Moxley and the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson. Well, the Young Bucks were explaining that it's all about friendship, and Don Callis was right that they weren't the same since they came to AEW, and that the Elite are not just about a hand gesture, they're about friendship and hugs and everything. That was cool. Mike Tyson cut a promo talking about how he was excited to be the special guest enforcer for the match between Chris Jericho versus Dax Harwood. Well, before he got the chance to say anything else, MJF came along and was trying to kiss Mike Tyson's ass, trying to get him on his side, but Mike Tyson was getting pissed off, and MJF made fun of Mike Tyson's face tattoo. Mike Tyson was getting ready to beat the shit out of MJF, but MJF weaseled his way into it with Mike Tyson, and tried to give Mike Tyson a check, but Mike Tyson took the check, ripped it up, put it in his mouth, spit it out at MJF's face, and MJF was all pissed off and said, "I'll remember that, Tyson," and MJF left, and Mike Tyson looked on, which that was cool. Alex Marvez interviewed Hangman Page and the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, 5'10", and Colt Cabana. Well, Alex Marvez was mainly interviewing Hangman Page. Well, Alex Marvez was asking Hangman Page about him being the number one ranked for the AEW title against Kenny Omega, and was asking him what he thinks of the Young Bucks' actions and Kenny Omega's actions as of late. Well, Hangman Page ignored the question and gave Alex Marvez an update on John Silver's shoulder, saying it could be 4 to 6 weeks for him to heal and to return to the ring. And then Hangman Page was talking about going out to get him something to eat and asked the Dark Order if they wanted to join him. Well, Hangman Page left, and then the Dark Order were encouraging John Silver to do physical therapy for his shoulder and everything, which that was cool. Alex Marvez interviewed the Inner Circle, which are Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz, and Mike Tyson. And Alex Marvez was pretty much asking Chris Jericho about his match with Dax Harwood and what made him decide to get back with Mike Tyson, get on good terms with Mike Tyson and everything. And Chris Jericho was talking about after that attack after that beatdown from the Pinnacle, which are MJF, Wardlow, Shawn Spears, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler, and Tully Blanchard, it gave them a wake-up call. And they decided to change their attitudes, and they were trying to make amends with everyone that they've done bad shit to. And the first person they called was Mike Tyson. And he talked about how Mike Tyson helped him out and everything, even though he knocked him out 10 years ago in WWE and everything. And then Alex Marvez, then Mike Tyson got on the microphone and said that he had a lot of respect for Chris Jericho, but he wasn't going to play favoritism. He was going to call it right down the middle, and if he had to knock him out, he would. And Chris Jericho obliged to that, and Chris Jericho and Mike Tyson shook hands and everything. That was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Britt Baker and Rebel. Well, Tony Schiavone was asking Britt Baker about her in the ranks of the for the AEW Women's title and everything, and Britt Baker was talking about how she was third in line and how Red Velvet just lost to Jade Cargill, now leaving her 5-1. So, and Britt Baker was talking about how she should be on top, how she should be the second ranked woman on the rankings list, and was also talking about saying that she was going to be competing on AEW Dark Elevation this Monday, and she was also talking about how she was going to become the AEW Women's Champ. She was going to, and Britt Baker was also talking about how she was going to become the AEW Women's Champion and everything, which that was cool. Let me see. Miro cut a promo on Kip Sabian talking about him disappearing since he teamed with him in the Arcade Anarchy match against Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy, and Miro was talking about Kip Sabian, saying that he just wanted to talk things over with him, and was talking about how he was going to go on with him or without him because he's not letting anyone or anything hold him back from chasing championships. And Miro pretty much put Kenny Omega, Darby Allin, and the Young Bucks on notice that he was coming after the titles, and they better hide just like Kip Sabian. That was cool. Let me see. Alex Marvez interviewed Kenny Omega, Don Callis, the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, and the Good Brothers, which are Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, who are all a part of the Elite. Well, Alex Marvez was asking the Elite about, pretty much mainly targeting, Alex Marvez was pretty much asking the Elite asking the Elite about why they've changed why they're changing the business of professional wrestling and everything. Well, Don Callis took the microphone out of Alex Marvez's hands and Don Callis made Alex Marvez leave. Well, Don Callis was talking about how they are changing the business of professional wrestling and everything, and Kenny Omega got on the microphone and was talking about how everybody's bitching about him and the Young Bucks changing, but saying they didn't change. They just they were just tired of doing what everybody wanted them to do, and was talking about how they were going to do whatever they want and everything. And Matt Jackson got on the microphone and was talking about how was pretty much putting the tag team division on notice that they were going to, that whoever it is that challenges him and his brother Nick Jackson, he was putting them on notice and everything. And then Don Callis took back over the microphone and was talking more shit. Well, the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, were getting ready to do a double super kick to the cameraman, but instead Don Callis laid out the cameraman with a super kick, and the Elite continued to celebrate. That was cool. Thunder Rosa cut a promo pretty much putting the AEW Women's Champion Hikaru Shida on notice, and putting the NWA Women's Champion Serena Deeb on notice, because she was pretty much saying that she wasn't out to just take out she wasn't just out for the AEW Women's to take over AEW and to take over NWA. She was out to take over the whole world and everything. That was cool. Let me see. Dasha Gonzalez interviewed Team Taz, which are Taz, Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Hook. Well, Dasha Gonzalez was pretty much asking Taz about the delay of Christian Cage's answer to join Team Taz. Well, Taz was going on all pissed off about saying that he's very impatient, that he hates waiting, and that he wants an answer from Christian Cage. Well, Ricky Starks got on the microphone and was talking about how they shouldn't have to wait and everything, and Taz got back on the microphone, was agreeing with Ricky Starks, but was telling him that he needed to stay backstage. And Brian Cage got on the microphone and was pretty much saying that he agreed that Ricky Starks needed to stay backstage and to let Taz handle it. Well, Taz got back on the microphone and was pretty much telling Brian Cage that he needed to stay back too. And Taz was talking about how him, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Hook would take care of it. And Taz was also telling Dasha Gonzalez that he was going to lock Christian Cage down in Team Taz and everything. And so Taz, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Hook left, and Brian Cage and Ricky Starks were just sitting there, which that was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Christian Cage. Well, Tony Schiavone was pretty much asking Christian Cage about his plans in AEW and everything, and Christian Cage was talking about how Tony Khan gave him an open contract to challenge anyone and to outwork everyone. And before Christian Cage could talk anymore, Team Taz, which are Taz, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Hook, came out, and Taz was pretty much talking all kinds of shit, saying that he was tired of waiting and that he wanted an answer from Christian Cage right now on whether he's going to join Team Taz or not. Well, Christian Cage was telling Taz that he didn't come to AEW to deal with his problems. He came to AEW to win championships. And his answer to joining Team Taz is no. Well, Taz got all pissed off and was saying that he never liked Christian to begin with, and that his buddy Edge carried him throughout his whole career and everything. And Powerhouse Hobbs cut Taz off, and then Powerhouse Hobbs and Hook surrounded Christian Cage. Well, Taz was still on the stage, but a brawl between Christian Cage and Powerhouse Hobbs broke out. And Christian Cage was beating the shit out of Powerhouse Hobbs, and Christian Cage also went for the kill switch on Powerhouse Hobbs, but Hook got on the apron, and Christian Cage tried to attack Hook, but Christian Cage turned around. Powerhouse Hobbs attacked Christian Cage and beat the shit out of him, and even took him out of the ring and beat the shit out of him, and then put his head on the steel steps and was crushing his head into the steps with his foot and everything. And then Team Taz, which are Taz, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Hook, stood tall while Christian Cage was laid out, which that was cool. And AEW aired a vignette of Hikaru Shida and Tai Conti's rivalry. Well, the build-up to Hikaru Shida and Tai Conti for the AEW Women's title, which that was cool. But besides all that, Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. And Don Callis done guest commentary along with Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur during the match between the Young Bucks versus Pac and Ray Phoenix for the AEW Tag Team titles. Don Callis done great on guest commentary. And the referees for the event were Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, and Aubrey Edwards. Rick Knox refereed the match between the Young Bucks versus Pac and Ray Phoenix for the AEW Tag Team titles. Paul Turner the referees for the event were Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, and Aubrey Edwards. Rick Knox refereed the match between the Young Bucks versus Pac and Ray Phoenix for the AEW Tag Team titles. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Jade Cargill versus Red Velvet. Paul Turner refereed the match between Anthony Ogogo versus Cole Carter. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Chris Jericho versus Dax Harwood with Mike Tyson as a special guest enforcer. Paul Turner refereed the match between Chris Statlander versus Amber Nova. And Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Darby Allin versus Matt Hardy in a Falls Count Anywhere match for the AEW TNT title. All the referees done awesome as usual. Now, the match card for next week's AEW Dynamite, the match card for next week's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be Hikaru Shida versus Ty Conti for the AEW Women's title. The match card for next week's the match card for Wednesday night's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be Hikaru Shida versus Ty Conti for the AEW Women's title, Christian Cage versus Powerhouse Hobbs, Hangman Page versus Ricky Starks, and Pena El Cerro Miedo versus Trent. That's the match card that's been announced so far. But the match card for Wednesday night's AEW Dynamite looks like it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great show as always. But anyway, I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite from April 14th, 2021, which was 2 nights ago. Like I said, it was awesome from start to finish. I really enjoyed it. And with that being said, my name is Austin Honecker, and I will catch your ass down the road.